Everyone, this is Jordan with Foodbevy. Thanks so much for joining today. Really looking forward to our conversation about building your holiday sales strategy. We're just going to give everyone a minute or two to jump in and join, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So just hold on 2 seconds, and then we will get going. All right, we have everyone trickling in. So while everyone's trickling in here, what I would love for you to do is in the chat box, please enter in your company name and where you're joining us from so we can see where everyone's at today. And then we just looking at the list here, we have people from across the US, which is always really fun. Thanks for all the early birds joining us on the West Coast at 8 a.m. Awesome. We have people from Jennifer from Austin, the Sound Foods team from Philadelphia. Of course, got some great people from Chicago, Milwaukee. All right, perfect. So let's get ahead and get started. For those who don't know me, my name is Jordan Buckner, founder of Foodbevy, the online community for food and beverage founders. And I'm excited to have this conversation today with 4 great panelists to talk about building your holiday sales strategy. So with the holidays coming up right around the corner, I know a lot of you are already kind of in the swing of things with marketing, building up inventory, promotion, and want to use today as both a check base to understand and think about everything that you're doing. And then also, if you haven't started planning, right, or if you're not really sure what to do, it's really close to the finish line, but we'll also provide some tips to really help you get a leg up and get started. I like to keep these webinars very practical as well, so that at the end of the day, you can walk away with some tips that you can try out in your business and hopefully use those to gain sales going into the end of this year. What I'd love for everyone to do as we're going through the conversation, a couple of ground rules. Everyone will be on mute the entire time, but I'd love for you to ask questions throughout. So if you have any questions, please add those to the chat. Just type those in and I will ask those as we go. Always love questions that come up during the conversation so that we can answer those when they're relevant. So I would like to go ahead and introduce our panelists. I'm just going to do a quick introduction and then would love for them to do a minute introduction on their own. So we have Anouck from Belgian Boys, Kunal from Unioncrate and co-founder of Boo Brands, Ayeshah from Mason Dixie Food, CEO there, and Frank, who is a sales expert from lots of different brands. So Anouck, why don't we start with you and give us a quick introduction?
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. My name is Anouck. I'm the CEO of Belgian Boys. Belgian Boys is an indulgent company. We make people happy with waffles and cookies and all kinds of indulgent sweet treats. We've been doing this for now 5 years and growing. We are in now, I think, 3,000 stores and on e-com. And excited to be on this panel today.
Awesome. And Kunal, how about you?
Great. Thanks, Jordan, for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Kunal. I now head up business development for Unioncrate, which is an AI-driven supply chain solution for CPG brands. Also the co-founder and former president of Boo Brands. And Boo, we make better for you bouillon cubes, gravy cubes, soup cups, pretty much bringing joy back into the kitchen with convenient and better for you cooking. While I was there, we grew the brand nationally in around 8,000 to 9,000 locations. So primarily brick and mortar. And, this is an amazing panel because the holidays were our busiest season. So excited to share tips and stuff with you guys.
Awesome. And then Ayeshah is joining us over the phone. We'd love for you to give a quick introduction.
Yeah, sorry guys with the technical difficulties. I'm still trying to make sure I can get my shining face up here, but I'm Ayeshah Abuelhiga. I'm the founder and CEO of Mason-Dixie Foods. We do better for you baked goods. So we make the country's only natural frozen biscuit, and now the only frozen scones and natural sweet rolls on the market. We've been doing this since 2014. We spun out of a restaurant concept that did really well, and consumers requested having a take it home version. And so we took the leap of faith and created it. And here we are 6 years later in over 5,500 locations plus e-com, as well as 19,000 points of distribution. So it's been an amazing course. And now we're the leading independent brand in frozen bread. It's a very exciting time. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, Ayeshah, that's awesome. And while you're on, I'd love to actually kick off the first question with you. So Mason-Dixie is doing awesome. We've expanded to a huge number of stores. So how crucial is Black Friday, Cyber Monday for your business?
So it's funny, we actually have not really dabbled in the e-commerce space for a long time at all. We were on goldbelly.com as a starter intro. And you got to remember, as a frozen product, perishables are not very attractive in the e-commerce market, I think, until recently with, the COVID epidemic and everything moving in that direction, and online grocery being more convenient, it's obviously started to grow. So in terms of Black Friday and cyber deals, it was never a really big thing for us. That being said, the holiday season in general for us is our biggest season, and it always has been. As a indulgent brand and as a baked goods brand, we do 75% of our volume in the back half of the year. So it's a critical time. We always try to mobilize our teams accordingly for the rush.
I love that. And Anouck, how about you at Belgian Boys? I know, desserts are kind of a thing for the holidays. Yours are a little different because you're doing individual served desserts, but how does it look for your business?
Correct. So us on the e-com, it's never been like the main focus of our company. We've always built our brand from B2B first, and COVID has accelerated our D2C for sure. We've seen such a exciting time this year, actually really engaging with our consumer and having that direct communication. I think same as Ayeshah, we're also having some with the frozen cheesecake, getting them to the consumer. But we found that if you have the right messaging and you're really talking to the consumer in that way, they're super responsive and they want to know more. You just got to feed it to them, right? So how we've prepared for that Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and holiday is really through our email funnel. And we look at it, let's say we started it already in July with our 4th of July sales, where we started talking and entering people into that email marketing. And we have been segmentating our list really to make sure that our open rate stays at where we want it to be. So if not, you end up in that junk email, right? And really talking to that consumer about what they wanting to hear has been what we've seen as our strategy for this upcoming holidays specifically.
I think that's awesome. And I know it's always a challenge of doing, frozen things and delivering by mail in this time. So Frank, how about you? What have you started seeing at this time for the brands that you've worked with?
Yeah, sure. Just a quick introduction. I'm Frank. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I forgot to do the intro on you. My bad.
That's quite all right. It's a forgettable face. It happens, But I've been doing this for quite some time. I've been with some great brands, part of some sales leadership with Vitamin Water, to Pirates Booty, to Crave Jerky. Also spent some time on the investment side with Excel Foods in New York. Now AF Ventures. Definitely have had a lot of success and a lot of tailwinds, but I've also had a lot of failures in the space. Currently, advising and consulting brands in the CPG community to kind of take some of the lessons learned and apply them to some of these early stage, mid-stage companies to sort of chart them for a path for success. I'm also the president of Kunal's fan club too, just to let everybody know that on the side. But as it relates to the brands that we're working with here, and as D2C in particular, I think that we have to be a little cognizant of, you know, Black Friday and Cyber Monday, quite honestly, and understand that there's so much money being spent right now. And a lot of the brands that I'm, you know, dealing with are on the smaller side, and to understand that we don't have the pockets to sort of go against them. So how do you participate, right? How do you take the money? How do you, you know, go a little bit deeper within your tribe through this time of the year? And how do you, you know, engage influencers to quite honestly help and drive people back to your site? So that's some of the messaging that we're sharing with our brands.
And I think that's awesome. And the Kunal, I know you've seen this from two sides. So the first being from Boo Brands, and then also love for you to touch on how, you know, you've seen this through Unioncrate in terms of like forecasting for holiday sales, since there's always strange spikes that brands go through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like Ayeshah, you know, at Boo, like 70 to 75% of our sales came towards the back end of the year as well, right? People are coming together more, they're cooking more. So with Boo, you know, we were always looking to provide them with those convenient, you know, easy solutions to make side dishes, whatever it was. We also learned that when it comes to holiday cooking, a lot of people don't like to play around or test new things because they don't want to be judged if something goes bad, especially with family and everything over there. So the way that we approached it was focusing on what people were willing to take a chance on, right? So if it was all of these different types of side dishes, either our gravy cubes or our bouillon cubes, how they would play into that, we would actually create content around those specific side dishes and use that on our Instagram channel. I mean, everyone knows that Instagram is all about, you know, food and all of the great pictures and everything. So how do you kind of, you know, attach with them on that emotional level, just like Anouck was talking about, right? So if we tried to hit home how easy it was to make certain things while using our products, but also we weren't going to mess around with your core offerings, right? So whatever you were actually cooking was going to at least guarantee somewhat a great experience as well. And then on the Unioncrate side, I mean, forecasting, as you can understand, you know, when you're developing a holiday plan, you need to plan at least a quarter or more in advance, because there's so much that goes into making your products, whether you're turnkey or not, you're responsible for sourcing all of your ingredients. That's where I'm so excited about what we're doing at Unioncrate, because we give you that ability to actually see what's going to happen 3 to 4 months in advance, to give you that understanding of what you're going to need to have in inventory, et cetera, to be able to hit those that demand that you need.
I love that. So let's get into some specifics, and maybe Anouck will jump over to you kind of planning for this year. So what are some of the specific strategies that you're using going into this year in terms of like email marketing or any in-store promotions to really promote?
Yeah. Well, email marketing, I think going back for a sec with that segmentation, we want to make sure that we talk to that consumer to what they want to listen. So if we have a customer that's reacting very well to the recipes we've been sending them, then we're going to send him more recipes. If he's reacting well to that promotions, you want to make sure that by holiday, you don't overload them with everything that you've been sending them as messaging, whether it's from Instagram, email, Facebook, wherever they've seen you in that holiday sale, in that holiday period where, you know, like Ayeshah and Kunal said, that's the 75% back end of your year. You want to make sure that in that period, they're very receptive, because we get tons, like think of us ourselves as consumer, we get bombarded by so many emails. So think about what will they resonate well. And that's really what we've been focused on. And on the B2B part, the promotions that are bringing those lifts, you got to get them right. And I think getting them in to your retail partners on time to make sure, I mean, that's been some things we've learned over the past that you're like, oh yeah, let's run a promotion at, I don't know, Whole Foods next week. Well, it doesn't work like that, right? You got to plan these things way in advance. And to Kunal's point, that inventory is a crucial part of it. You got to make sure, because I think in the beginning, when you see your shelves at a store and you see them empty, you're like, oh yay, I'm selling great. It's out of stock, amazing, right? And as you grow into your business, you're like, oh my God, empty shelves. Every minute it's empty here, I'm losing sales. So making sure that your shelves are fully stocked at the holiday, which is our peak season, both online and offline, is I think the biggest learning, because people want to spend, just want to make sure that you tell them, hey, spend here, right?
Now, how do you make sure that you don't have too much inventory? Like, where's that balance kind of as you're forecasting and growing?
Yes, it's definitely a learning curve, I think. You can, and getting that, I want to say, a software just like what Kunal has with Unioncrate is definitely one of the solutions to make sure that you forecast well. But I think if COVID has taught us anything, is that with our forecasting, a lot of companies were very, very poor this year with, I mean, we've over forecasted on food service items, but then you got to be creative about how can you reconfigure them to your retail line, to online bundles. D2C offers those, oh, hey, let's run a flash sale today and get, you know, it's still good. It's just another configuration. We've had too many club sizes. So we put a bundle online and we have run a flash sale and we got, you know, we got it to the consumer, which is at the end of the day where you want it to end up.
That's great insight on that. Frank, I know you worked with a number of brands on this. So how have different brands that you've worked with really kind of planned around this time of the year? And what have you seen work really, really well? And what have you seen just like flop?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, if we're talking retail and brick and mortar, you know, if we're planning today for the next 6 weeks, we definitely have missed the boat. And I think this is now planning for a year from now, because quite honestly, you know, to Kunal's point earlier, a lot of the planning does take place 6 to 8 months in advance. And especially if you're coming out with a flavor pack for the season, or if a different size, or if it's a shipper program, you know, engaging with your distributor partners and understanding what that setup process is, if it's a Kohli or a UNFI, and participating in some of their shows. But I think as a young brand, we definitely, you know, less is more. And I think trying to really identify those markets and those retailers that believe in the brand and the proposition to try to get off-shelf activity, because we ultimately want a brand and a platform, quite honestly, or a SKU that's going to be incremental to your sales, right? We don't want to cannibalize our existing product line that we have out there. I also, you know, caution people to not produce too much inventory, and also be very cognizant of what comes after the holidays, meaning markdowns, and how are we getting this product off the floor. I would always, you know, advise too, is that this is not a time of year to chase volume, right? We want to make smart decisions. Short-term cases versus long-term growth is something we always try to talk to our brands about, is that we want to engage with our consumers with a good platform, a good SKU, but we also don't want to leave, you know, too much inventory left at the retailers.
And have you seen any like flops? You don't have to name names, but like things that you've tried that just failed in terms of like promotions or anything like that?
Yeah, I think, you know, not to call anybody out, but there's some, you know, some flavor profiles, which just, you look at it and it just makes you scratch your head and say, really? I think there's a little bit of a reach there. I mean, you know, pumpkin is pumpkin, and it can only go into so many different, you know, flavor profiles and brands. So I think, you know, from a branding perspective, it's like, stay true to who you are, know what your consumers are looking for, and, you know, stick to the core, and don't, you know, sort of go too off kilt one way or another, because it's just a recipe for disaster. Because you want this program and this promotion to work, so that this time next year, you can go, you know, bigger, and the retailers are looking for more.
So you don't recommend a pumpkin gravy cube, Frank?
You know, maybe peppermint.
You know, I did see a pumpkin sparkling water the other day. So Kunal, how about you? What have you seen with with Boo in terms of what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I can't agree more with what Frank and Anouck said. You have to be realistic internally with what you are going to sell for the holidays. I think a lot of, salespeople, founders, executives, they're like, the holidays are their time to shine, and, that they're the only unique offering or product out there. So sales are going to spike, they're going to double, triple, whatever it is. And then it doesn't happen. And then you got to deal with those markdowns. You got to deal with those beautiful chargebacks that come from Kohli and UNFI. And you're like, oh my God, what happened here? The biggest thing that, brands need to take into consideration, especially when they're building out their forecasts, is understanding their historical sales, right? What happened at these specific retailers? How did product perform? And if there is any consumer feedback that you can actually use and build off of to then plan for the next season. Like Frank, said, even a quarter as far as your inventory planning is way too early. You should be planning at least your marketing a quarter or more in advance. But from your product buildup, your forecasting, all that stuff, that happens at least 6 to 8 months in advance. And listen, at Boo, we were guilty of, trying to do too much when we only needed to do a little, right? We built gravy shippers and sold them into 800 or so Albertsons and Safeways. And when we got those purchase orders, we're like, yes, this is amazing. This is going to really crush the year. And it did. We did do well for that year. And then we started off Q1 the next year in a terrible spot because we got a ton of chargebacks that came because the product didn't sell, right? So you have to be realistic internally with what you are going to sell and not, just overblow your projections, because it will lead to further pain down the road.
Yeah, I think that's important to really touch on, because when working with distributors like Kohli and Unify, they're known for letting retailers order whatever they want and then being able to charge back that to you at full price, essentially. And so if they over order, they have no incentive not to, because they can just send the product back.
And they charge a 10% admin fee, so they actually make more money.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous.
And they will deduct it whenever, so you don't even know when it's coming. It's like,
mm-hmm. It's wild during retail. Ayeshah, how about you? Any learnings that you've had around promoting during the holidays and this time of the year, good and bad?
So it's funny you asked that. Last year, we were told to lean in on the holidays because none of the other brands do. Obviously, it's a very expensive time of year to promote. And so we did in core accounts where the lift was needed or just the brand awareness needed to be boosted. It was an incredibly costly exercise. So I would definitely not lean in on the holidays, no matter what anyone tells you. But I will say the residual impact was good. Like, we had a 30% permanent organic lift. So the trial was really excellent. But, we were not financially prepared to know what that hit was going to be, because no one had a good number, because no one promotes in that time. So it was just like this weird, place that you get yourself into. But I'd say if you have the budget or you've set aside a decent amount of promotional opportunities, it is a great time of year to promote trial. But just be wary that, as everyone said, you get that hit in the first quarter and you're basically poor for an entire quarter if you're not prepared for it. So, pluses and minuses there. So this year instead, we proactively started promoting in advance of the season. So we've started earlier promotions in October and then also in early parts of November. Obviously, with this being a pandemic year and no understanding of, are people still pantry loading? Are they just scared of out of stock? Like, the buying behavior meets no standardized process. So it's hard to look back at historicals and go, this is how it's going to perform, because you got nothing on this, right? So, we do think there was a significant amount of pantry loading from those promotions, which is great. But then it was like, it's kind of thrown off our November, because we were like, okay, well, because last year was very different. So it's hard when you're an emerging brand and you're trying to rely on historicals, and every year your life is changing, and then you throw a pandemic on top of it. So it'll be interesting to see how planning goes next year. Removing all these anomalies is a huge challenge.
I think one of the, just to sorry, Jordan, but to, jump on that, it's like, getting product in the store is one thing. It's how are we going to get product out of the store? So how, from a brand's perspective, how are we going to generate that pull? And I think more so than ever with foot traffic down, where is the discovery part of it? Field marketing and demos are kind of a thing of the past currently. So how do you take some of those the dollars and, put them back into driving people into the store to find the product? And more importantly too, I think we're, having some sort of social cause, or what is the why on why the retailer should have the product, or why should the consumer bring the product, or pick up the product, are things that we definitely need to consider and utilize the social platforms to kind of convey that message across the board.
Yeah, incredibly important. And just to add on to that, what I'm seeing, kind of on the Unioncrate side also within a post-COVID world, is that because foot traffic is down, or actually the time that people are spending in store is a lot less, a lot of companies are actually scaling back on their trade promotions or their shelf discounts, right? Because we at Boo even canceled a lot of our promotions toward the end of the year because we just didn't know what was going to happen. So instead of trying to have distributors forward order, especially for a longer shelf life item, we're like, you know what, let's scale back. We know that people are going to be online more. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that, our sales from brick and mortar to D2C was going to, be like, right now it's 95.5. It's not going to go from 95 to 70 and then 30. It wasn't going to be like that. But we did take advantage of the fact that, hey, if people are going to be online more, maybe we can advertise online more too, right? So we can invest more into those digital ads. I mean, retailers right now especially have more platforms that you can advertise directly on that will translate to sales. And again, it's very difficult to understand, how do you advertise online to drive offline sales when you have retailer platforms like Kroger IQ, whatever it may be? You can actually see that ROI. So that's how we shifted some of our spends.
No, I think those are great ads. And kind of following up on some of these overbuying trends, Sophia asked, how do you decline or adjust UNFI or Kohli purchase orders if you feel they're overbuying? And that's to anyone.
You call out on it.
Sorry. How do you? So Sophia asked, how do you decline UNFI or Kohli purchase orders if you feel they're overbuying?
You call the buyer up and you tell him you over-ordered.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah, like we did that where it literally got to a point where like, hey, this is our forecast. This is what we saw last year. This is probably a little bit of a lift, right? You are way higher. You need to bring it down by this much. We can't ship that because, and again, they don't really care because it's on consignment. So they're just going to bill it back to us anyways.
Yeah, I think that's really key. Is like, I think a lot of smaller brands have the feeling that they have to fulfill everything that's ordered to them, and they just send out as much product as possible. But as much as you can, you should be, conservative to a point where you're not going to have your business hurt. I mean, just an experience from T-Squares with one of our customers in the Chicago area with Jewel Osco. We actually sold them, like they overbought product from us, and this was towards the like middle. We weren't sure how they were going to do, and like our contact there just stopped responding, and I think they switched and moved jobs, but they ended up returning like 30% of the product that we sold them, because like sat in the back room. We had no idea, no visibility to it, and I had to foot the bill for that. And so and then after I started having very upfront conversations and telling them like, hey, we're not going to fulfill these orders if they keep overbuying, so we need some more visibility. So have those conversations, because you have to advocate for yourselves. The distributors aren't going to be the ones advocating to buy less product from you.
Sure.
One thing I want to jump into too, and Ayeshah, you mentioned this a little bit, but how do you view this time of the year and the holidays? Are you looking to gain like new customer acquisition? Are you looking to reward kind of existing customers with discounts, or are you going after referrals through like gifting programs?
All of the above. So I guess like for Anouck and I being indulgent brands, this is the time of year to get people to buy. So you throw everything you can at every angle you can. This is a great time of year for us to upgrade the customer. So throughout the year, people are budget conscious, or they're used to buying the brands that are stable and available everywhere, aka Pillsbury, right? But during the holidays, people do seek to impress. And there's a ton of case studies in this. Like there's a company called Dixie Sugar in the South that nails it only during the holidays, because for some reason people think their sugar is better than like Domino. I don't know, but they do. And so that upgrade happens, and you want to be the upgrade. All of us as emerging brands should be the upgrade. So, and all the retailers love it, right? So lean into that too. The retailers love your price point because they're making money off of you when they typically are having to struggle to make money off of, off shelf, opportunities from the big guys and who knows what else, right? So this is the time to improve their margins by selling through. For us, promotions are they're critical. If you're a perishable item, especially behind a door, a hang tag, even if it's 50 cents, 25, whatever you can get, is critical to trial. Otherwise, it's really hard. It's a huge barrier. There's frost. There's, getting them in the aisle in the first place. So you want to be able to utilize whatever tactics you can. And sometimes, frequent low cost discounts are really good at that, because people just gravitate to a yellow or red hang tag, right? So that's been really important for us in the holiday season as well, to gain new trial. And then on top of that, we push really hard digitally to our loyal customer base. A lot of large companies actually suggest you don't promote to your already existing customers. We actually find that's not a great tactic. I think as an emerging brand, you should promote to your loyalists, because they tell other people and they spread the gospel for you. So don't forget about them. I think your social channels are critical to continue to build that straight line communication channel directly to those people that love you the most. And so we actively promote with ideas, between recipes or time savers or anything like that, to get into their mindset that, like, you know what, I'm going to go tell Stacy about this too. And that word of mouth is really, really critical for new trial as well. So don't ignore your loyal customers.
I also think too, like brand collaboration is very important through this time of year. And it's all, it could be within the food and beverage world, but also adjacent industries as well. If you're a lifestyle brand or, a fitness drink, and how do you tie into another, a brand, a Yeti for, it's obviously a big brand there, but thinking outside of the box a little bit of like people that would do this also eat your product or drink your beverage. So those adjacent categories and partnerships, I think, are very, very important.
I'm going to jump on the back of that only because the perfect segue. It's shameless plug here. On our e-commerce site, we launched a gift program this year, and their bundles, including, Boo brands, including Anouck's brands. But we did all these little fun packages because obviously we're facing this still virtual world. And so we have a cafe at home experience with Belgian boys. We have a BIPOC bundle with, BIPOC owned brands. And you're right. I mean, people are looking for discovery at this point. That's why Oprah's book club list is winning every year, right? So this was our opportunity to kind of share the wealth. All of the products are linked across everyone's pages. So it doesn't matter. We don't care if they buy it or not. It's more about, if you want to live this lifestyle and support brands, here are some others that are really good too. And that crossover, like you said, Frank, is critical for trial and engagement.
Yeah, one thing that I am still confused about and why it doesn't happen more often are actual product collaborations amongst brands, right? There's so much opportunity for, let's say, a brand like Ayeshah or Anouck's to partner up with, another brand on the emerging scale as well, come up with a product together that you can sell, start off online and then sell into retail. Like our data shows from Unioncrate that a couple of companies that have done that, they have seen huge wins, because now you're actually getting access to the other companies' followers and their loyal customers, right? So being able to do product collaborations, I mean, I love what you guys are doing with the baskets and all that stuff. It's incredible, because now you're actually leveraging both of your loyal followings and your customers to gain more attention and be able to sell more product.
Yeah. One take on that as well that I've seen is the two companies here in Chicago, Sacred Serve and Lil Bucks. And what they actually did at Whole Foods is do a cross-product coupon collaboration where they put a discount on their product for each other's product. One was in, Cinder Store, one was in Frozen, to drive each other's, their customers to the other brand.
Holidays is about sharing the joy. That's what it's all about.
Sharing the love. A lot of love.
And I think something that we talk about a lot as well in our team is what does, taking it back to the consumer, right? Like if the consumer buys your brand, looking at what else is in their basket, right? And not only as food products, but what kind of phone do they have? What kind of cleaning supplies do they have? Do they buy Methods cleaning supply, or do they buy the big name brand? And I think taking it back to other categories and really looking at their lifestyle is going to put you into what Frank said, those kind of out of the box opportunities. And this is where I think also partnership is a great thing. We just had our partnership with the Dry Bar, and it's really putting our product somewhere that's not expected. And we've seen actually a lot of success with reaching a new consumer because we've put it now somewhere where we know our consumer would enjoy our treat, and it's part of those kind of two words that go together. And I think that kind of bring you to those out of the box opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think one thing that is a little underestimated going into this year is because we're in the stay-at-home environment, there's going to be, probably still some, but fewer like family gatherings, and those that are happening, people are going to kind of want to go like all out to make it special since they're being at home. But then also, right, it's really hard to gift things to people like in other places. And so a lot of people, I think, want to feel that connection. They're looking for items and opportunities to gift to someone to share that joy. And food plays a really fun part within there because it's accessible, right? Like most people will like the food that you send them. It's not like picking out a hard good, which they might enjoy or not. It's more of a risk. So I think food has a high giftability potential. And there's really fun ways of, I think, engaging your loyal customers, like you're all saying, and asking them to gift their favorite products to their family members, right? That's kind of an easy ask. Say, hey, you love this. You're likely that others will, love it too in your network. And then that's a great way to get that referral bonus as well.
Yeah, agreed. I think that it's a special time of year, and it goes back into the holidays, and different items. People are willing to spend a little bit more. To your point, Jordan, of like gifting or sending. You're going to upgrade that gift a little bit. So some of these small and emerging brands that are out there are going to benefit from that. And I think that that's a great point.
So a couple questions that have come up in the chat, and if anyone has questions, keep asking those. So Jennifer asked, what's been your experience with Ibotta and are there any kind of alternative platforms to running promos as well?
Who's done Ibotta? No one? Oh, I have.
Yeah, we've done one.
Yeah. You go ahead, Anouck.
No, you can take this one.
Okay, so Ibotta is, it depends on which retailer you are actually targeting, right? And Ibotta works very well with Walmart. And that's what we noticed. So when we launched our soup cups there, we started with an Ibotta campaign. And again, it's based off of redemptions. So, there was a $40,000 or $50,000 commit, which doesn't necessarily mean you're paying $50,000 out of pocket. They take a certain percentage as a fee, and then everything else is based off of redemptions. So, we would drive more online advertising to, get, people to download the Ibotta app, tell them that we're there. And it was a great way for us to drive trial and awareness, right? So that definitely helped. You're selling product at the same time. So the Walmart buyer is seeing turn. So, as long as you have a clear call to action, right? And if your goal is to drive more trial and awareness to hit certain targets, right? Get that feedback, because you can get feedback from Ibotta as well. And you have the right retailer, like we did in Walmart, then I think it's very effective.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've heard from other brands who have used Ibotta is it's good at moving volume. If you price it right, you can get trial. And so it's really about, getting some initial consumers, but ultimately it's like making the buyer feel good about your product and kind of going for a longer term play to make sure that you stay on shelf and hopefully use other initiatives to move as well. But I think brands that use Ibotta kind of just to move product off the shelf will end up losing because they'll run out of money because they're not profitable on the unit sales. And why are you going to keep using that as a tool if you're just going to be losing money every time you do it?
I think also, you know, to what Kunal said, if you are in like 1,000 Walmart, then yeah, you're gonna get that footprint. But if not, there is that $50,000 minimum. That's a lot of money, right? So if you are in like 200, 300 stores, that's gonna take you like a year or so to go away. And then you get into the problem, what I think is where you have promotions on shelf, you have a coupon somewhere that you forgot about, and then you have an Ibotta. So you're actually paying people to buy your product because Ibotta, you can't stop it. It's like non-stop until that, or I think they now have like, you need to pay to pause it. So if you have a BOGO in store for 2 weeks, you can pause it. But if you don't want to pay $10,000, I don't know how much it is to stop it, then you end up going in that double, triple dipping. And that's where my fear goes with, you know, those TV shows. There was like about the crazy couponing. But that happens, I think, in this country still. So you want to make sure that you preserve your brand, I think, in some way, and just finding what's right for your brand. And I think position it as what is your goal when you set up a campaign. Is my goal to move units, or is my goal to drive brand awareness, or to drive revenue? And then what's the best path for it?
And I would also just echo on that as saying is that knowing what the minimums are and potential spends with an Ibotta, if it's 25,000, if it's 50,000, whatever that dollar amount is. So I think as a founder, as an entrepreneur, is saying like, if I have $50,000 here, what's the best way to spend this money?
Mm-hmm.
What's the best way to, you know, increase velocity, right? We want velocity to continue to grow. We also want some new doors to come too, but are you better off spending that money in a different part of your business with a different retailer that's going to, you know, reap rewards down the road?
Completely. Another question from Lane. Has anyone had experience doing any of Kohli's or UNFI's virtual shows and getting sales from those this year?
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead, Frank.
You first.
Okay. So we did the Kohli holiday show, and it's actually unreal. It was really, really good. I think timing was good because it was in the height of COVID and everyone was like pandemic buying still. So, but I've heard really good things about that show in general. So we enjoyed it. I'd say the opposite for the UNFI show. It's probably one of the saddest virtual shows I've ever attended. And I'm glad it was free because it was really bad. So, you know, I think you're going to try your luck at, either one. It just really depends. I think Kohli's done a really good job of taking territory. They're getting a lot more natural, organic, and independence under their belt, and I think that's why they've had better success rates at probably doing virtual shows. Where I feel like UNFI is losing a bit of market share in that market or in that channel. But that's just been our experience in the frozen side.
Yeah, I can tell for some of the shelf stable brands that I'm working with. Totally agree. Kohli's been kind of top notch, especially as it relates to shippers. UNFI, same boat. And then, if DPI kind of comes across your desk, definitely pass. I had one brand that sold one case. So, great. Woohoo. Great job.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then
but you never know. We skipped the Kohli. We were like, let's not do the Kohli. We did the Unify, and we're like, oh. And then we heard the Kohli was amazing and the Unify wasn't. So
yeah, it's always so hard to know with some of those. And so it's like you have to pick and choose if you don't want to do all of them. And then another question, we mentioned earlier about understanding what products other people are putting in their cart when they're purchasing to understand their buying behavior. How have you gone about doing that? One thing that I will mention is if you're selling on Amazon and you are a registered brand with your trademark, Amazon now offers a basket analysis where you can actually see what products other people are most often purchasing with yours. And sometimes it's effective, but when you get like a high enough volume of purchases, you can actually see what other types of items people are buying at the same time. But any other software or tools that you use?
Well, I think just asking, you have a consumer, they are online, just ask them, run a survey and give them a gift card for next purchase, Survey Monkey. They will tell you. And I think you will be surprised by asking your customers how much they're willing to unveil and how they excited to also contribute to your growth. If you're talking to your loyal consumer, of course.
Yeah, we did that at Boo, right? We sent out a mass email through MailChimp and asked them, what do they use our products with, right? And we got some really good feedback that way. You can also reach out to like Spins. They can give you some kind of snapshot of what's going on in your specific category. If you push a little bit, put your sales hat on and kind of give them that feeling that you might buy something kind of later on, they'll be willing to reveal a little more as well. Even at Unioncrate, we are providing people with help on the Nielsen side, so feel free to reach out to me afterwards. But again, it's get creative. We always said at Boo, think outside the cube. How can you get more information with limited resources, right? Regardless of how much money is in the bank, always try to shoestring, get that information and ask. That's the best way I always went about it.
To piggyback off of that too, you can get a lot of data off of your social media followings. So you can do data scrubs and figure out what they're also following. We had no idea, but one of the craziest things was Triscuit was one of the most followed brands who also follow us. So I was like, why are people buying Triscuits in Mason-Dixie? I'm not sure, maybe entertaining. So then we went down that road and it's right? I mean, that's how you're building all these little, conjectures about who they are. And then I also think, don't ignore you're a natural food product. That means your customer's buying other natural food products. It's not rocket science. Like, don't make it too complicated. They're probably buying Applegate. They're probably buying Boo. You know what I mean? Like, it's really not that hard. And if they're not, you also have the opportunity as a brand to create what you want your customer to be, right? If I want them to buy Method stuff, I should probably promote stuff with Method, because then that consumer's going to know, that brand I trust also trusted that thing, right? So they do shop like people want to be told what to do. And we forget that a lot of times. We just hope for the best. You will not believe the conversion rate you get if you tell somebody what to buy. And so we actually started, pushing that harder this year, and it's been great for us. And I really hope it creates new discovery of other brands too. But like one of our most successful digital giveaways was like I was actually not okay with it at first, because I was like, I don't really know what the hell this is, but it's like a sleep drink. It helps promote healthy sleep. And at first I'm just like, what the hell does this have to do with biscuits? And then, we had an incredible hit rate with it. And I'm like, oh, well, if everyone's thinking about, better for you things, why not sleep? Why not self-care? Why not all those things? So thinking outside the box, I mean, now we actually got the biggest influx of followers off of that one small campaign. So
That's
really
crazy.
thinking out there. Yeah.
Nasha, do you have certain like tools that you've used or like software that you found in some of these things?
I personally don't, but our digital agency does. So I don't know how they did the scan, but they came out and pulled it like, who everyone's following. So Martha Stewart and Triscuit were the top two most followed outside brand pages out from our own follower base. So that was an interesting scan. So yeah, I feel like if you get a digital agency on board, they probably have awesome tools to do that. And like I said, even a simple survey, the first thing we did that's how I realized stop trying to be all creative, because people buy natural things. So just don't try so hard, was the survey we got back. We left it as an open blank. And of course, all the brands we thought they were buying, they were, so it's just like, okay, well, wasted effort, right? But that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes just use your gut. I mean, if you're buying these products, so are they. So
I think that's very, very well said as it relates to, there's a lot of analytics out there. And I think as a young brand, we want to be, scrappy. We want to save our money and utilize your gut. I mean, you're a consumer first as a founder or as a, leader in the company. What are the products that you're buying? And at the end of the day, what we love about this business is that it's such a good ecosystem that there's so much of trading of information and reach out to your network. And I think you're going to pretty much know who your consumer is and other brands that they're putting into their cart. So utilize the resources that are surrounding you before you get into some shopper marketing data and some other nonsense where you can take that money and spend it back into trade and get people buying the product.
Yeah, sure.
So Anouck, I want to kind of circle back as we kind of wrap up here on some of what's going on in the e-commerce space. So Anouck, I know you were talking about like customer segmentation earlier, and I think that's really great. I'd love to follow up on that in terms of what you and your team are doing in terms of your goals for e-commerce for this year. Are you looking to acquire new customers and spending towards it, or are you really just trying to increase the purchase value for your existing customers?
Well, I think this year with COVID, everything's like so. What is historically? I think what is it between Thanksgiving and Christmas? It's like 30% is bought on e-com. I don't know if that's gonna happen this year with COVID or with the panic buying. Actually, maybe that's gonna increase, right? So this year, I think it's so particular, right? But what I see as ourselves as being is really, and when we've talked about this before, is we've positioned ourselves as, okay, we want to make it easy for the consumer to actually to actually buy on our website, but making it easy to understand, right? So DIY cookies and not complicate things, I think is really just, plain and easy. Because I think Frank touched on this before. There's all these Target, Walmart. I mean, they're competing with so much marketing dollars on these 2C. We can't compete with that. Your cost, your ROAS is just, it's not relevant there. So I think create that loyalist community, and we've actually seen as one of our marketing strategy being customer service. I think customer service has become marketing today. And we had, and Ayeshah, I'm sorry, you had like also melted stuff that arrived. I mean, FedEx and UPS, okay, it's not in our hand, but hey, I would be complaining if I got a hot cheesecake, right? And how do you convert that and make sure that the customer understands that there was an issue with shipping? Send them a goodie box, make sure that you understand, that they understand what the issue was, and that they become a loyal consumer. And when I see them, I mean, that Shopify that's also on my phone, and I hear that ching, which I love. But I think when you see these consumers coming back after they had a horrible first experience with your brand, that's successful marketing for me, and that's a successful conversion, and how that customer service has become part of our strategy, for sure.
Customer
Yeah, I'll
service.
just piggyback on that, because like I have seen our best customers come from bad first experiences.
Yep.
And it's because of how we responded in a very real, empathetic, and personal way, and went above and beyond what they were even expecting. And they like tell everyone about our products after that.
You're converting them into a champion for your brand, right? And that's so big. Like, we've had several issues where we would just send them a free case of product. They ordered one, we sent them a free case, and they were so appreciative that they literally go, and that's where the word of mouth marketing begins. And we all know that word of mouth marketing is the most effective form of marketing, no matter what. So to get that going, customer service is so incredibly important when it comes to the CPG space.
So that's all great. We have 5 minutes left. So if anyone has any final questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. One thing that I want to bring up, because it often gets overlooked, is January 1st, right? So the holidays are really big, especially for some of our dessert brands here. But January 1st is the start of Better For You, Better For Me season. And so how have your brands then leveraged conversations and marketing in January to reach consumers in a new way?
I'll jump in. I mean, one of the things we try to promote is balance. And so in the part of the new year, we focus on balanced lifestyle, because people forget healthy is not food, healthy is a lifestyle choice. So, we really push. I mean, one year we did this hilarious campaign with one of our field marketers is also a Zumba instructor. So he did like 15-minute workouts at your desk as like a little video campaign, just because it's like, I mean, I don't know, no one's looking at my stuff. They're looking at kale chips. So I got to do what I got to do, right? I got a guy in a rainbow tracksuit doing jumping jacks. So, it works. I think, and then on top of that, we also try to partner with other brands who are more health conscious. So like we did salad dressing one time. So we did all these salads with biscuit croutons, right? So we try to like generate activity around recipe ideas and then partnerships.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the new year, new you has been around for quite some time, back to the vitamin water days and now, up through today. I like to even tell some of the brands to look to promote not January 1st, but maybe come in January 15th, and you're leading up to the back end of January, because everybody, again, is promoting those first 2 weeks. So how do you give a little lag for that promotion to end and then you're coming back in? I think it's, again, going back to the partnerships and then creating trial that are tying into other better for you lifestyle type brands and activities to really create some excitement to get the year going. Because ultimately, you know, this year's behind us, right? 2020, fortunately, right? We can all agree on that. But hey, you know what? January 1st, it's a new year and a new number. So you better be ready to go because there's some big numbers to hit next year.
I think that's a great way to end. I will say that on T Squares, with our, you know, we sell superfood energy bars, and so like as a gift item, there are some people gifting our products, but it's not cheesecake, it's not like delicious desserts like you all have. And so our big time of the year is actually planning for the beginning of the year when people are looking to start those new routines. And so while our strategy essentially is to focus on our existing customers during December and gifting. And in January, that's when we spend on new customer acquisition as people are looking for those new lifestyle changes and behaviors, as Ayeshah was saying. And so I think that was a really key part of our strategy. Awesome. So go ahead, Kunal.
I was just saying that, you know, people have an emotional relationship when it comes to food, right? And your emotions are primarily driven by your outside factors. So it's how do you kind of feed into that? So while, you know, after the holidays, you know, resolutions, people are kind of like, oh, I need to eat healthier or whatever it is. That obviously, like Frank was saying, is all old school, right? Now you got to figure out how do you kind of still hit on their emotions with exactly what they are thinking. And that's kind of where I always think that, or believe that, content is a great way to drive a lot of that. Like, what are people talking about? What are they actually doing? And then this kind of goes back to what Ayeshah was saying, that you need to maintain a healthy lifestyle year round, right? And you get a little indulgent during the holidays.
And maybe this year everybody will be so happy that 2020 is over. They will actually celebrate and eat cookies and like do a party. I don't know.
You're mute there, Jordan.
No, that's quick. I'm forecasting that the New Year celebrations this year are going to be even bigger than ever, as everyone's going to be so excited to actually end the year. Well, hey, I want to thank everyone. We're just closing up on our time here, but thanks so much for joining for this webinar. Hopefully you learned some really great tips on how to build out your holiday sales strategy, what to do and what not to do, and things to be aware of. If you have any other questions, reach out to me. Happy to connect you to our panelists for additional information or follow-up. Everyone's just been so great. So thank you so much for joining. And for everyone, I will be sending out a recap of this webinar via email later today. So keep an eye out for that. And then we have a couple other events that are going up on our calendar in the next couple of weeks around equity crowdfunding. And so if you're interested in learning more about equity crowdfunding, be sure to join for that and a couple other events. So those will be live at foodbevy.com/events. And be sure to check those out. They're not up there now, but they'll be up in the next day or two. So be sure to check back. So thanks so much for everyone for joining today, and have a great weekend and good luck going into Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.